How's it going, everyone? Well, today was a big day for acquisitions as Square Enix has sold some pretty notable studios. We talk a little bit more about why Square Enix sold those studios and what they're investing into. Might not be something that people get overly excited about, but we'll talk about that. On the topic of acquisitions, PlayStation is also hiring for an acquisitions manager, and PlayStation Now gets its lineup for the month of May. Actually, a pretty decent lineup, all things considered. We'll talk that at the end of this video. A lot of you guys already stacked your PS Now subscription, so it's a little bit more notable now than before. But first of all, again, Swedish company Embracer announced today that it has agreed to acquire Square Enix Western Studios. You've got Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal, and on top of that, a boatload of IPs, which is where a lot of the value is coming from. You're talking about major IPs such as Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy of Kain. Now, in an official statement, Square Enix talked a little bit about why they sold these studios and what the capital that they acquire is going to be invested into, and it will let it focus on investments in blockchain, AI, and the cloud. Oh, baby, I know you guys are excited for that. Square Enix noted the transaction will assist the company in adapting to the changes underway in the global business environment by establishing a more efficient allocation of resources, which will enhance corporate value by accelerating growth in the company's core businesses in the digital entertainment domain. In addition, the transaction enables the launch of new businesses by moving forward with investments in fields including blockchain, AI, and the cloud. The move is based on the policy of business structure optimization that the company set forth under the medium-term business strategy unveiled on May 13th of 2021. So that is going to be pretty interesting. Now, remember, last month, as noted on VGC, Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda reiterated his desire for Final Fantasy publisher to create play-to-earn blockchain games. This is an area where I've talked about it before. As far as NFTs, blockchains, I am very uneducated in this side of business. I did randomly throw money into crypto like years and years ago, and thankfully things went pretty well for me, but outside of that, I don't know anything about it. It was just literally a throw S on the wall and see if it's stuck. In this case, obviously, this is something that a lot of publishers are going forth with. I mean, Ubisoft has been in the NFT game as well. It'll be interesting to see how Square Enix implements it. Look, immediately when people heard about this statement and people actually read it, it caused a lot of concern, given that you're selling studios that, yes, their margin for profit is very minuscule. If you look at the numbers, those studios are not making tons and tons of money, and in the case of AAA game development, probably wasn't worth it for Square Enix to keep them around, especially when you can get a $300 million check or capital for it. Now you can invest it into areas that ultimately Square Enix thinks that they're going to make money on: blockchain, AI, and the cloud. And maybe this is going to be a case of them more so focusing on their Japanese front of games, because that's a significant portion of their Western division that they have sold. Now, they still have IPs like Outriders, so obviously, I believe they're still going to be in the business over here in the West of creating bigger games, but we'll see how ultimately all that turns out. Square Enix is an interesting publisher, man. I think they had a lot of quality IPs under their umbrella. I think Shadow of the Tomb Raider was a good game, but I was never a big fan of the DLC plan, but ultimately, it was them trying to make money, and did it backfire on them? I mean, I don't think the SOTR DLC plan was something that a lot of people even had backlash for. It's something I talked about back in 2018, but it's not like people were that upset about it. Shadow of the Tomb Raider still seemingly did okay, but obviously the profit margin wasn't that crazy for these studios. And remember, $300 million to buy these studios, but it's on Embracer to also facilitate the operation of these studios as well. So now it's on them to turn a profit with these IPs and these studios they have under their umbrella. So Embracer's got a lot of potential, or excuse me, a lot of pressure on them to make sure the acquisition's potential is realized. So we'll see how all of that turns out. Look, I immediately saw that statement and I was like, oh boy, that's not going to go over well on the internet. So, if you guys have any clarification as far as the blockchain, AI, and the cloud world, let me know. Well, cloud is what it is. I think cloud gaming's a meme, though, so yeah. Let's move on from that. As far as acquisitions go, PlayStation looks to not be stopping anytime soon. As spotted by business analyst Roberto Serrano, the director of corporate development listing says the successful applicant will be mainly involved in identifying potential future acquisitions and investment targets. Sony Interactive Entertainment seeks a highly qualified director of corporate development. SIE's corporate development team works closely with SIE's management team and is responsible for identifying inorganic growth opportunities through acquisitions, investments, or joint ventures. So obviously, you know, it goes without saying, acquisitions are the name of the game. If you have a long-term vision for gaming and you want to facilitate the growth of your brand, Embracer's in the game, Tencent's in the game, you know, Sony's in the game, Microsoft is obviously in the game. It's about spending some money to get your, get these studios, get these IPs, you know. At some point, you would have to think that the bubble is gonna burst and it's gonna be like, whoa, let's back off. There's only so much money to be spent, and you're kind of seeing that in the streaming world right now. That Netflix stock, oh boy. But nonetheless, this is kind of a different circumstance. Something different is going on here for sure. But the evolution of these acquisitions and these deals that are happening is going to be very interesting. Remember, Warner Brothers is trying to sell their studios. However, the value with Warner Brothers comes with the IPs, and there's a lot of licensing agreements that go with, you know, those studios. Those Batman licensing fees, I imagine, are a pretty penny, so, you know, it'll be interesting. I think Sony's made a lot of quality decisions. Like, I don't think acquiring a Housemarque broke the bank. I don't think, you know, acquiring Insomniac for a significant amount of money, don't get me wrong, but Insomniac has been incredibly valuable. The value Insomniac brings into the PlayStation ecosystem probably is worth the cost that they paid, and it's about picking and choosing, I think, for Sony, because they just don't have that level of capital. They spent a lot of money to get Bungie, and we'll see how that ultimately turns out. It was definitely a sizable acquisition, $3.6 billion. But, you know, Microsoft is throwing around $7 billion here, $70 billion there. That's a whole different ballgame, but it seems like Sony is still going to be in the market. And I think, you know, acquiring studios like a Housemarque, that's a good idea. But, like, these big publishing labels, I just don't know if Sony is going to go that direction. However, we have heard the rumblings of something big in the works as far as acquisitions go, and I do imagine that we'll hear that slowly being trickled out over the course of the year. You're going to regularly get news like this, but I hope it's not the case where there's just 3 or 4 gigantic media conglomerates in gaming and they own all the studios. Hopefully, you know, independent studios are always going to be around, so hopefully that remains fairly decent. But lastly, I do want to know, PlayStation Now, games for May. A lot of you guys have PS Now, and some good titles you can check out in the month of May. Only 3 games, so, you know, slow rollout, but Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, if you have yet to pick it up, Storm 4 is a quality title. The story's a little bit, you know, interesting in the way that they told it. I wasn't as big of a fan of it as I was in Storm 2 and Storm 3, but still fairly good. And if you're a fan of Naruto, or you just want a quality arena fighter to jump into, have some friends over and all jump in together, like back when Storm 4 initially came out, the tournaments we'd have at my crib back in 2016, oh, that was so much fun. We don't really do that anymore, and My Hero 1's Justice hasn't really captured our imagination like that. Maybe it's just, again, another case of us getting old and bitter, but, you know, in the case of Storm 4, I can still have fun with that game, and I can jump in solo and still have a good time. It's a good game. Unfortunately, no Road to Boruto, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but Storm 4 itself is still a quality game that's worthwhile to check out. Another fighting game here of a different sort, Soul Calibur 6. You know, it's Soul Calibur. A lot of customization options in the game as well, so that's probably something you can delve into. Not a game that I got overly invested into, but yeah, Soul Calibur 6 is a nice addition. And Blasphemous, a punishing action platformer that combines fast-paced skill combat of a hack-and-slash game with a deep and evocative narrative core delivered through exploration of a huge universe composed of non-linear levels, so that's been added as well. 3 solid entries, but I would imagine that Sony is saving some of the big hitters for the month of June, when PS Plus Premium does ultimately launch, but this is a relatively decent gateway into Plus Premium in June, given the standards of PS Now. Obviously not a Game Pass level update, but hopefully that will be coming in June. That's gonna do it for me. Again, Square Enix investing into blockchain, AI, and the cloud. We'll see how that turns out. PlayStation is hiring for an acquisitions manager. It looks like they're going to be looking to acquire some more studios. And outside of that, just business opportunities and joint venture opportunities for them to secure deals and whatnot, so we'll see how that evolves over the course of the next, 12 to 16 months. And PlayStation Now games for May include Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, Soul Calibur 6, and Blasphemous. That's going to do it for me. Again, sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.